Hi, this is Rick for EDU Mobile. Now we're going to look at the resources and how we access them both in code and in the XML layout file. So if I look at my design, I can see that I have a button here, and it's kind of hard to see, but we can, let's see, we'll zoom in on that a little bit. I have a button here. There is a text field here, and the button label is text. If I look at my button, I see, well, if I look at my layout, I see that I have a text view here, and I've set the text equal to nothing, or the empty string. And then we have a layout width and a layout height that we'll talk about when we get to layouts. And then I have an Android ID on this, and it's just called text view. Now, this says create an ID and name it text view. If I look at my r.java file, I can see that in the inner class ID, I have text view, and it has this 32-bit integer as a hexadecimal value, and that's what this ID really is. But in our code, we refer to it as text view. So now, looking at our layout, let's go back to activitymain.xml. Looking at our layout, let's take a look. We have the button here, and the button has a width and height again. It has a text, and it refers to a string resource. Now, where are those string resources located? Under resource, under source, resource, and then values, strings.xml. So that's this file. And if I look at my button text name, I have this string test. So in the layout, we are accessing that string by using a string reference. So at string, button text refers to the string test. Then I have an ID on the button. It's just ID'd with the string button. And then I have layout below ID text view. And that tells me that the button should be laid out directly below anything that has the ID of text view, which of course is this text view. And here is that. Okay. On click refers to the handler that we've defined in our main activity. So let's go ahead and look at that. Here's our handler called button tap. I pass in a view, and here I've just called it view. A lot of times in the Android documentation, they will just name this view V, lowercase v. I like view because it says what it actually is. And then I get my text view, and I've just called it TV Hello, by finding the view by the ID r.id.textView. Again, I'm getting that from r.java, but I've defined it in our activity main. Then I set the text on that to hello world. So this is showing us how we can grab the ID of a text view and cast it as a text view and give it a name, and then set the text in that text view. Now, just so that you can see how IDs would be accessed in code, I've gone ahead and added code to create a text view and then display it also when we click the button. So to do that, to display it in the layout, we need to find the layout. Now, we can't find something that doesn't have an ID, so in our main, I've gone ahead and added an Android ID attribute to our relative layout, and I've just called it layout. So now I can find view by ID for the layout itself. So that's exactly what we've done here. I find a view by ID r.id.layout, and then I cast it as a relative layout so that I can refer to it later. Now I've made a new text view, TV Other, and that requires a context, and the context is this class, so this. And then I set the text on that to a new text view. Now that's one way to do it. I can also set the text with a resource. So actually that's what I'm doing here below, so we can get rid of that. Save it. Now I want to add this new text view to the layout and get the string from strings.xml. To do this, I'm going to use something called the layout parameters, layout params. And I want to use the relative layout params, and I've called it lparams, and I make one. So a new relative layout.layout params, and then I'm just setting it horizontally to wrap its content and vertically to wrap its content. And I've got the basic parameters for the layout for this text view. And then I'm going to add a new rule to my layout params, and that says make that text view appear below something that has the ID of button. So relative layout.below and then RID.button. And then I set the text to r.string.newTextView and set the layout into the relative layout using the name of the new thing. I add the view to the layout, the name of the text view, and then my lparams set. So my lparams again is going to wrap its content both horizontally and vertically, and it's also going to appear below the thing that has the ID of button. So let's go ahead and run this, and we'll see both things happen. By the way, while we're running this, we can look in our strings XML and see that I do have a new string named new text view with the string a new text view there. So we can see our app is running, and I've got the button with the string attribute test in there. And when I click it, the hello world appears up here, and that is because there was a text view already there, but a new text view has also been created, and here it is below the button, just where we'd expect it to be. Now, if we don't set layout params and we just add the text view to a relative layout, what would have happened is this string would have overlapped the hello world string and we'd have a mess. But now that we have it set under the button with the layout params, we're able to get it wherever we want. Thank you very much.